Okay, so hello guys. I'm just going to do a little recap on what you need to submit for me on the 3rd of May. So this will be next week. Just a little bit of, let's just go over some of the criteria and make sure that we all know what's going on. So if I just drag this over here. So this is the assignment spec, which it was on Unilearn. So we're just going to go through and make sure that we go through. So if we remember correctly, right here, week 25, Wednesday, May the 3rd, 2017. That's when our submission point is. If we come down and have a quick look at what we've done so far. So we did our proposal. We've had a couple of interim sessions throughout the year. Now, the proposal's the interesting thing. Make sure that you are submitting what you propose you were going to submit. So if you said you were going to do a character and get it game ready, make sure it is a character that is game ready, etc. So let's come down to this final submission here. We're going to have a definitive brief. So this is your final brief, what you're going to submit, what you have submitted. And you can see here clearly less than 2 sides of A4. It's not a long document at all. A good paragraph, and that's all that you need. Final design solution. So this is the final product. So whether this is some nice beautiful renders, whether it's a Marmoset file, whatever you outlined in your initial proposal, that's what you're going to submit here. Your digital sketchbook. So again, this is talked about this in class multiple times, but your sketchbook this year is not only outlining how you did something, but why you did it. So outlining all of your analysis, your research, your design and development, and a little bit of evaluation. So let's just say, for instance, if you're looking at a character design or creature design, and you change the muscle structure. Now, why did you change that muscle structure? What research influenced that muscle structure? Did you look at gorilla and see actually how their chests are bigger at the top, so that's why you did that, etc. So this sketchbook is the sort of way to outline what you did, what you actually spent time on this year in this brief, and what you actually produced. And always back that up with some why you did it, as well as how you did it. We'll come back to this in a very brief while, because I'm just going to go back to this bottom one. And for every single submission this year, there has to be some kind of video element. So again, we'll use the example of a character. If you've done a character, maybe just a nice beautiful turntable in Marmoset is good enough. If you've done an environment, maybe a fly-through in Unreal. If you've done a 2D game, maybe you just play that game, and that's part of a little bit of a playthrough is part of that video element. So make sure you've got that in the submission profile. At the very bottom here, these are the 4 elements, the 4 marking criteria we're going to look at. So every single one of you that submit, me and Graham will sit down and we will look at creativity, we'll look at technical challenge, we'll look at quality, and we'll look at the presentation and communication of your piece. Now we have to hit each one of these 4 markers to be able to get a good mark. Those that are in the 80s, 90s, and particularly even 100 categories will hit each one of these elements. So I'm just going to pull over this. So this is a rough breakdown. Let's just zoom in a little bit more of the areas that we will be looking at when marking, and there is a grade associated with each of these. So this is for brief 2, which is worth 60%. So we will look at your research and evaluation. We will look at your creativity your concept of the piece. We'll look at your clarity and focus, which is the presentation of the piece. How well have you demonstrated that you can produce an asset? So I'm gonna stick with the character one just because we started there first. But so how well have you modeled it, rendered it, retopped it, textured it, presented it in Marmoset, done a turntable, etc. Technical merit is the edge flow really well utilized? Is the poly count low enough? Is are the UVs optimized? Are the textures optimized? Have you got a really good technical workflow through for your rendering production pipeline, etc.? And process and rationale. Have you documented? Have you iterated multiple times? If all we see is the final output and nothing else, we haven't seen your workflow, we haven't seen your development. This is why I said multiple times at the beginning of the year, the easiest way to do this is do like a time-lapse video. We can easily see you iterating over time then. But if we haven't seen that, we can't give you these grades. And the same goes for this at the beginning. If you don't have any research and evaluation, if you haven't actually come through and iterated with that sketchbook, you haven't shown not only how but why, and then evaluated on that why, we cannot give the grades for that. So in reality, just producing the final asset, just producing a product, will give you these two right here, these two, and potentially this third one. So we'll be looking at these three for the actual product. These two are your documentation of it and your evaluation of it. So how have you iterated? How have you gone through that process? And how have you researched and produced it? So really do be aware of that as you're going through. Make sure you hit all of these notes. We've had students in the past that have given some outstanding final product but had no sketchbook with it. So we had to put 0 in those two categories. So please don't be in that situation. As Graham likes to say, and I fully follow his sentiment here, your sketchbook doesn't have to be an essay. It doesn't have to be lots and lots of big block text describing what you do. Try and get in the habit of show, don't tell. If you want to say that you use Guerrilla Anatomy as your influence for the anatomy, take a screenshot of some of the reference shots of Guerrilla Anatomy and put a big arrow onto the bit that you applied it to in a screenshot. You have told us then that you use this anatomy and applied it to that mesh right there, that sculpt. So, again, as you're coming up with your sketchbook, as you're filling out, think show, don't tell. It's a lot easier to analyze what you've got then, instead of trying to read through and trying to understand what you meant by that wording. If you can understand from picture, we understand what you're saying. Okay, so this is just a rough breakdown. Me and Graham will be going through this in the fine-tooth comb, but this is the breakdown of the grades that you'll be getting. I just want to show a example or two from last year. So let's go with Eleanor's here. So hers is slightly different. You can see we've got brief 1, brief 2 and 3, brief 4. They did 4 briefs last year. You're only doing 2 this year. 2 and 3 is essentially brief 2 for her. So if we come through in here, Eleanor did the thing of a little bit of both. So she did it as a Word document, which fine if she wants to do it that way. Would have been a little bit nicer as an actual sort of sketchbook, sort of laid out in a visual way. But you can see there's lots of, this is my initial research, this is my initial reference. Look, talking about the things that she's been looking at. Here's an initial sketch of what she wants to produce. Here's some more influence that she found. Here's her thumbnailing, outlining sort of the creature that she's going to produce. The final 2D sketch of it, going through the process of ZBrushing and sort of retopo of and UVing. talking here about this is the art style she wants to go for. Going through some of Dota 2's guidelines here, so saying this is the reason why she's doing the thing that she's doing, is that she's found that Dota 2 have a particular workflow. Going through, talking about UVs again and faces, a little bit of sculpting ready for the bake, a little bit of hand painting, some baking here, making sure it works, some variation in colour here, some testing, some colour tests. And you can see there's a lot of just imagery and process, and again, she's done the thing of text-based description of what she's doing. You could do that visually all the way through. If you found something, instead of just talking about it in words, you could show it in a visual way, all the way to some of the final renders and a little bit of evaluation. So let's just have a quick look at bring Sam's across as well. So Sam's again split into two, but very similar in the process. He did a Word doc again, and it's very wordy, but you could do this with thing. But you can see this first section is all about the modular assets for an environment that you built, really breaking it down into those pieces. So it's very much visual here at the very beginning, talking to you about a little bit of the technical process. So that's more of a demonstration for the first part. The second part is where he breaks it down a little bit more. You can see here he's submitting UE4 scene files to an executable. If you're going to submit a UE4 file, make sure it's an executable, then it's nice and easy for us to open it and look at it. Don't want to be able to have to be ringing you and saying, alright, we can't open this file, will you send us another one? Make sure that it's nice and clear, this is the file I want you to open. So again, very wordy, could have done this a lot more, but is very much a visual breakdown of all the textures, iterative approach. So this is his first version of the library, and then goes through breaking it down even more, goes into some more technical processes, so he's hitting that technical mark. So both Sam and Eleanor's, the ones that I've just picked there, a little bit wordy, but they get the point across. So let's just come across to this. So on UniLearn, if we come down to is that the right module? This is announcements. Oh, there we go. Now, okay, I managed to collapse it at the top. So we go to assignments, come down to brief 2, open season. In here, I've moved it to the top now. So you had your brief 2 proposal submission point. So this was all the way down at the bottom, so I just moved it to the top. Click on here and make sure you're submitting part of this submission. You've got your design brief in there, you've got your sketchbook, and now all of this at the top, all of your brief and your rationale and everything could be included in the sketchbook. You could have it at the beginning of your sketchbook. You don't have to include them as separate files. But make sure your sketchbook's there. make sure your final design solution is either as a folder with your final renders or is part of your sketchbook, and make sure that video is in there. So as a bare minimum, what you might submit is a digital PDF sketchbook with everything in and a video. So it might just be 2 files that you're uploading as the final process. And hit that and submit. So hopefully that's a little bit clearer for those that are putting together your final submission. Make sure, let's just go and grab that again. So make sure as you're putting your submission together, I know a lot of you have already got your final sort of thing, final design solution put together. Now you're getting your final renders out. Make sure you hit that sketchbook as well, because these two are where they've got those grades coming from, and you don't want to lose that grading boundary between those. So again, because it's just 40% and 60% for brief 1 and brief 2, it's nice, easy to work out. It's just your overall grade for brief 1 and your overall grade for brief 2 added together, 6% and 40%. Breakdown is each one of these rationales is given a fifth of the weighting to the final thing. So make sure you hit these, and we will be fine and hunky dory. Any other questions? Let me know. I think everything is outlined quite clearly in that document. Again, if you haven't or have lost your copy of the assignment spec, it is just over here. Go to assignments, open season, and it's just there. Design brief, open season. Okay, best of luck, and I will see you all next week. Well, that's if you choose to come in and submit. Have a good time.